Okay, we've reached the top of the hour, so I think it's time to get started. Welcome everybody to another one of our Me Too masterclasses, and this time we are looking at 10 of our top PowerPoint tips that we think are going to save regular PowerPoint users time, as well as allow you to be that smug person that introduces a new trick to somebody else after this webinar. So I'm Dermott, I'm from the Me Too Customer Success team, and I'm going to be your host for this session. Okay, a very quick bit of housekeeping. Once again, we're going to be using Me Too throughout the session to allow you to take part in some polls that I've got, as well as for you to submit your own comments. So please do follow the instructions that are on screen if you haven't done already, and download the Me Too app. So if you're on iOS or Android, please go to your app store and search for Me Too. Or if you're not on one of those devices, or you just want to access the web app, please go to web.metoo.io. And then either way, you'll just be asked to enter the meeting ID that's on screen there, 1226981124. Now, we've got a wide variety of people joining us today, so I've really tried hard to make sure that all the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about are going to be, really useful to you. So this means that you don't have to worry that we haven't just gone away and dug 10 really obscure features in an attempt to make sure that you haven't heard of any of them. But also alongside this, I want to run a little competition myself during the session. So I'd like for all of you to share your favourite PowerPoint tricks through the Me Too chat board, and then use the like feature to show ones that you like that other people have sent in. And we'll actually be sending out a prize to the person with the best tip or trick afterwards when we look through them back here at the office. And then afterwards we will be sending out all the slides from today and a recording that you can watch afterwards or send to colleagues, but also with all of the tips and tricks that we share, and also the ones that you guys have shared as well. So hopefully I've given you all enough time to get on to Me Too, so we shall move on. Now, I've got a couple of quick questions for you to start off with, and although this isn't officially one of the 10 tips, opening a presentation with a bit of interaction can be really useful in getting people engaged quickly and avoid starting off down the trail of death by PowerPoint. So if I could get you to respond to this, how often do you use PowerPoint? Is it every day, more than once a week, just the once a week, or less regularly than that? Now, pretty much everybody here at Me Too uses it every day, so I'm really keen to find out from these responses what you guys out in the real world do. And the output of all of these polls are really useful to us, so please do participate. And if you missed those Me Too instructions at the start, if you just follow the URL in the bottom right hand corner, that will take you to the web app. Okay, we'll take that there. And okay, really good spread. That's really good. And hopefully those people every day will be able to share some of their tips as well. But it's really nice to see a good spread there. Our second question, now how would you rate your skills? So, from almost zero there to novice, up to average, more advanced, and then of course some worrying ones if there's any total gurus out there. Will make me quite nervous. But okay, let's just take that one. That's always interesting to see here. Okay, yeah, quite a lot of competent people, a few advanced. I suspect some of those advanced are really gurus, but they just don't want to show off. And a couple of ones for me to worry about there. Thanks very much. And then the last one of these warm-up questions is, how can we best describe your organisation? So we've had lots of people actually sharing this webinar invitation with friends and colleagues, so it'd be really useful for me to be able to understand who we've got on here today. So if you choose the one that best describes you, it may not be exact, but just the one that's the closest match would be great, please. Now, this data isn't just for me. It's always nice for you as the participants to be able to see who else is on the session, especially in a virtual meeting like this. And these demographic style warm-up questions can work equally well with live audience as well. It's a really nice way to start off. Okay, I think that's enough. And okay, really good spread again there. Lots of meetings and events people. So that's really good to see. That's a lot of our client base. Those people that have actually said other, it'd be really useful for me if you could actually send that in via the chat board, just so we can understand the type of people that we've got on here. Okay, so to kick off, it's our first section. We've named this Slick Slideshows. And this is because it's about tips that are going to avoid you having to come out of slideshow mode during the presentation. Now, before the first real tip, we've got a bit of a freebie for you here. You can actually kick off your presentation with Shift F5 to start your presentation from whichever slide that you have selected and not just going to the very beginning. I'm just giving you this one now because I'm going to be using it quite a lot during the session. So if you hear me saying it out loud, it's because I'm trying to concentrate on doing it. So there we go. So the first real tip though, and this is going to help you keep your options open as you go through a presentation, because actually PowerPoint doesn't have to be linear. You can actually adapt as you go. If you need to go back to a particular slide, or if you've got a slide in reserve with some detailed explanations on it, you can actually use the jump to slides simply by typing in a number of a slide that you want and hitting enter to go. So when you're in slideshow mode, you simply type in the number. So I'm going to do that now. 1, 5 and enter, and there we go. I've jumped onto another slide further down my deck. Now, what we do here at Me2 is we actually like to have a reference of all of our slide numbers so that we can actually get ourselves out of trouble if needed. But it's also useful, certainly for our meetings and events people, to give your presenters a list of those so that they can actually jump to any slide. It could be that they've got an ad hoc poll that's waiting at the end of their deck to be able to do a straw poll at some point, and then they can jump back to wherever they were. So that's the slide number and then enter. Okay, number 2 is to hide slides. And these ones will be skipped over during your live presentation. Now this is probably a really well-known one. However, it is quite well tied to tip number 1 because you can actually decide to show them at any time, and you can just use your slide jump technique to jump to a hidden slide if you want to call it up. Then if you've got a moment in your presentation for group discussion, or you want to try and break that spell of death by PowerPoint, you can actually take the focus off the screen and get people to concentrate on what you're saying. So in a dark room, you can press B and you can go to a black slide, or if you're in a lighter environment, you can press W and that sends your screen to white, and then you simply press B or W to come back out and carry on with your slides. Okay, then we move on. Our next section is look good and save time. So at the end of the day, whatever your content, people are probably going to judge you if you've got a badly formatted presentation. So there are quite a few ways that you can make sure your presentation is going to look the part without actually spending hours and formatting it. And actually, rather than waste your graphic designer's time, there's quite a lot of image manipulation that you can do in some of the more recent versions of PowerPoint. It actually means that I haven't used Photoshop quite as much for a while. But actually, probably the one I say I use the most is the cropping tool when I'm using images. So I'll just jump out here. I can take any image, just like this one. And if I decide I want to crop an area out of it, I can go to my Format tab up here, click Crop, and then if I've got an area of this image that I don't like or I think is a bit silly, I can just use any of these handles to actually crop out the area I don't want. So I'm going to take out the bit of this image that I don't like, and then I click off it, and there we go. It's absolutely simple as that. And you can go back in and crop even more if you really want to. So a really, really useful tool there. I'd definitely advise checking out some of the other tools that are alongside cropping there, as they can be very useful. So I'm going to use Shift F5 again to go back into slideshow mode. And you can see that that's all nicely cropped there. Okay, so the next two I think are massive time savers. So these are Format Painter and the Eyedropper. First of all, we're going to look at the Format Painter because not only does this copy the colours, but also other formatting properties of an object or text box, and actually allows you to apply it elsewhere in your presentation. Okay, so I'm just going to come out again and show you this here. So it's really quite simple. I'm going to select a bit of text here that I want to take the properties from. I'm in my Home tab, but you can also find this in your Format tab. I click Format Painter, and then I choose the bit of text I want to apply that formatting to, and I click on it, and there you go. You see that straight away. It's done really easily. Another thing I can actually do here is if I just draw a new box here, and let's make it a slightly different color. So I've got my box, and then I actually want to apply some slightly nicer formatting to it. So this one I made earlier, I've got a bit of a drop shadow in a different color. I can just take my Format Painter and click on that, and it's done straight away. So, really, really simple there. Now, on the same theme is actually the eyedropper tool. And this is really, really useful. In the past, I'm sure we've all struggled to pick out the right colour for a shape or a font. And actually, I've always had a particular colour picker tool on my laptop to help me out. But now PowerPoint has got that, which is really handy. So I'm going to click on my new box here, and I want to change the colour of the fill here. If I just drop that down, then you'll see there's an option here called eyedropper, and I can actually go to anywhere on my slide and pick out the colour that I want. So I want that orange colour back again, and there we go. It's as simple as that. Another really useful one. Also a really useful tip, this isn't on my list, but I thought I'd, as I'm out of slideshow mode, show it to you, is Shift F3, really useful one. This is actually to toggle through the case of text. So you can see I've got that selected. I've got full caps, lowercase, and sentence case as well. I think that's probably my favourite one, so I thought I'd share it with you there. Okay, I'm going to Shift F5 again to get back into slideshow, and there's just a summary of those points. And don't worry about potentially screen grabbing or anything. I'm going to be sending out these slides afterwards, as well as a link to the video, so you'll be able to go through and see those. So the last tip in this section, and this one I think is quite useful. I have actually seen somebody recently holding up a ruler to their computer screen trying to line objects up. So, if you have got a lot of objects or text that you want to line up on a slide, you can use the arrange and align tools to get this done really, really quickly. So I'm going to just come out and show you that again. So I've got all these pieces of text here that are scattered around my slide. I'm going to select them all. I then go up here to the arrange drop down, choose align, and then I can use any of these, but I want to align these center. Okay, and you see they all get anchored into the middle there. I can then move them around. And another really, really useful one to make your slides look a bit more professional is distribute vertically or horizontally, whichever way you're doing it, but that actually equally spaces everything out along your slide. So really, really useful one. Okay, so Shift F5 again, and then you can see I've got all my pieces of text nicely lined up, telling you how to do that one. Okay, I've got another question for you here. So what is the average size of audience when you present a PowerPoint presentation? Is it less than 10, 11 to 50, or above 50? Now, just to talk through this a little bit while I'm on this slide, I've actually used some of those techniques that we just talked about. I used my eyedropper to grab the blue colour here from my branding. I used the align to line up my options and my label text. And then I used the distribute feature to actually distribute these graphics up and down to make sure that everything was nicely evenly spaced. So, you can really use those quite well. I'm going to take that vote there, and we'll be able to see what type of audience we've got. Okay, wow. That's 28%. Okay, really interesting. So almost half of you doing those sort of medium-sized meetings. Good stuff. Okay, so on to our next section, which is sending it out. Now, we've all had a presentation that's been sent to us that has either never arrived or potentially taken a day or two to download, and it's usually down to the file size exceeding, potentially email policies or even the capabilities of your connection. So a really simple fix for this is actually to ensure that the images in your presentation are no larger than they need to be, because quite often it's images that are going to be your offending items. So the quickest and easiest way to do this is to use compressed graphics before converting it to a PDF. Now I'll just quickly show you how to do that. So we'll come out of slideshow again. You'll recognize our lovely picture here again from earlier. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop it again for you so you can see what we've got there. Okay, now if I click on my image, I'm on my format tab here. You'll notice up the top we've got compress pictures. Now if I select this option, you'll see I get my pop-up box here with a couple more options to make. Now what I'm going to do is I want to either compress just this image by keeping this text box checked, or if I uncheck that, it's actually going to apply some compression across all the images in my PowerPoint deck, which is probably what I want to do to make sure I can really reduce the file size there. I can then delete cropped areas of pictures. So that's a really useful one to know, because actually when you crop an image, you're not actually deleting the area around it that you've taken out, you're just simply hiding it for your presentation purposes. So by deleting that area, you're really going to reduce your file size even more. And then there's some other options here. You know, if you want to send it out by email, if you select that option, you know, you're going to reduce it even more. Okay, now just to show you that that bit about cropping, if I hit my crop button again, you can actually see, because I didn't apply that, I can actually just undo some of the cropping again if I wanted to, you know, if I made a mistake there. Okay, so back into slideshow. Now then we talk about the saving to PDF. So, you know, this might not always be appropriate, but actually when sending your slides out, you will probably need to decide whether it's appropriate to send the actual PowerPoint file or if you need to send a PDF. So whether you want people to potentially be able to, you know, reuse your slides. Now, this decision can often be forced, so if your PowerPoint file is too big to send by email, and usually I think most email policies are around 10 megs or so, then you know, if you're over that, you will need to convert it to a PDF to send it out. In those instances where you do want to send a PowerPoint file, you probably need to look at another transfer solution like Dropbox or WeTransfer. But for the most part, I tend to send out PDFs after you know, these type of sessions. And actually, when I convert it, before I send it, I've got a few more decisions that I need to make, so I'll just talk you through those now. To actually save it as a PDF, you go to File and Save As you normally would. However, this time you can actually use, you can choose the PDF option here. And when you do that, you'll be presented with a couple more options here. So whether you want to keep it as a standard size or even go for a minimum size. So I always go with this online version because you can guarantee it will knock off another couple of megabytes there, which is very useful. Now on to our penultimate section here. So this is add-ins. This one we could spend quite a while on, but we've only got a few minutes. There are actually loads of things that you can do with add-ins in PowerPoint, and it's something Microsoft are really pushing at the moment. We've already used the Me Too add-in for some of that polling, but Microsoft actually have, I guess for want of a better word, their own app store for Office. We've got access to, you know, hundreds of third-party add-ins. So let's just have a quick look at some of those. So I'm on my PowerPoint slide here. I go to Insert. I choose Store. And this is really useful here. So you've got your search options. You can, you know, search for anything here. They've got some really good charting add-ins and stuff like that. But actually, you could search for Me Too if you wanted. And we get Me Too coming up there. But the one I want to show you today is one that I find quite useful sometimes, which is called Web Viewer. Now, actually, this one is really good. It allows you to embed a web page into your presentation. So I'm going to add that here. And what you can do is you put your URL in here. So when you go into slideshow mode, I'm just going to leave it with Wikipedia as the default for the time being. If I go into slideshow mode, you then see that I've got access to this web page and actually go through it. So what this stops you having to do is, you know, either alt-tabbing out to your web browser or even completely coming out of slideshow mode altogether in order to go through some web content. Okay, so moving on to our last section now, which is snappily titled Choose Your Own Adventure. This one's probably worthy of its own webinar, but I'll come on to a little bit more about that in a moment. But simply put, this technique actually allows you to put hyperlinks into your PowerPoint content. Now, this is either to jump out to web content you might have online, or you can actually use it to jump to other slides in your presentation. But, you know, by using this, it's a really good way because you certainly won't be accused of causing death by PowerPoint if you've got a really dynamic session where you're jumping around. So just to show you a little bit about how to do this, so if we're going to use text, you can use objects if you want, but in this example I'm using some text as my hyperlinks. I highlight the text, I right click, or I could go to the Insert tab if I wanted. I select hyperlink. Then you've got a choice of a few things here, you know, two of which are existing file or web page, or place in this document. And again, for this example, I'm talking about a place in this document. I then get a list of all the slides that are in this PowerPoint deck. So, you know, these could be hidden slides or slides that are already showing, and that's you know, a way that you can jump around. And then in this example here, we've got them as the options on a poll. So actually, depending on what the audience might vote for, you can then click on that and start going down a completely tailored presentation based on what your audience have actually responded to. Now, a really great example of this can actually be seen in a recording of a recent webinar by the Me2 Education team and a university lecturer called Adam Warren, where he used this the whole way through his presentation, and the audience polling results actually decided the entire course of the session. So it's really cool, definitely worth checking it out. The link to it will be dropping into the Me2 feed now, or you can find it on our YouTube channel. Okay, so that's my 10. If you think that there's one that you can't believe that I missed off, please do pop it into the Me2 feed now. But also don't forget we are running that competition, so I'd love to get your tips and tricks through on the feed, and there will certainly be prizes for the best one. And earlier on in our session we had a good discussion. 3 people were actually having a good chat through the Me2 feed at the end, talking about their favourite tips. But just before we finish, I'd really like it if you could help me out here with some evaluation. If you could let me know what you think about the content. Was it too simple? Was it too complex? Or was it just about right for you? This is the only way that I can actually make these sessions better, is by getting the feedback from you guys. So please do be honest about this stuff. Okay, I'm going to take that result there. Okay, brilliant. And then in terms of rating the webinar and was it a valuable use of your time, a scale of 1 to 5, was it a complete waste of your time, or was it extremely valuable? Hopefully the last 20 minutes was valuable to you, but I'm actually going to spare my blushes here and look at these results later on my own. But I really want you to be honest here. Again, it's the only way that I can improve. And if you are on the lower end of the scale, please do send a message in, let me know how I can improve these, or just drop me an email afterwards. Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for responding to those. We'll take that there. Just a couple more messages before we go. Please sign up for your own free Me2 account at me2.com, or you might have noticed that you can actually do it through the app. If you hit the hamburger menu, that's the 3 lines menu at the on your app. And then also download our PowerPoint add-in, the one that I've been using today from our webpage, and make up your own interactive presentations. Please also check out our YouTube channel, where we've got some good PowerPoint tutorials there. And follow us on all the usual social stuff to get some more hints and tips and ways to make your classes and meetings even more exciting. Okay, thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.